Hi, everybody. Welcome into Sports Talk Chicago. My name's Jon Zaghloul. Great to have you here on Channel 59.3 BPOD TV and Roku. Big show for today. We're going to break down the Bears-Seahawks game coming up on Sunday. Doesn't really mean anything for both teams, but we could see some development from Justin Fields. We'll talk about it in just a second. Before we get started, make sure you follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Jon Z Sports and on Facebook at Jon Zaghloul. If you want to watch more of this show, search up Sports Talk Chicago on YouTube or go to sportstalkchicago.com. If you want to watch more shows from the BPOD TV network, all you have to do is search up BPOD TV on YouTube. I want to start today with this. For the bottom feeders of any sport, there always comes a point where there's no point in fans tuning in. Think about the Cubs this past year. Cubs fans know this. Who actually sat there and watched them in depth and cared after the trade deadline? After they traded away Rizzo, Bryant, Baez, and they sunk deeper and deeper into the gutter. Not many people. I know people who got rid of cable altogether, stopped even watching marquee and caring after July 31st. I realized, what's the point? Season's over. Ownership gave up, players gave up, the team gave up. So why should I keep giving in? Valid point. Same thing here with the Bears right now. Why should we give in? Don't get me wrong, I'll watch the game. Gotta provide a recap and give you my take. Not gonna enjoy it, though. The Bears are eliminated. I'm not saying I was here to root for them to get to the playoffs, but the truth is, the season's over. These last couple of games mean very little. I mean, there's no pressure riding on any of this. At best, we see Justin Fields continue to take the right steps. At worst, he does bad, team gets worse, and maybe the day after the season, everyone's fired. So I guess it's a win-win. But the quality of football you're going to see over the next couple of weeks should not get you excited nor pleased for this team or for this organization and where they're going. You're going to watch the 4-10 Bears take on the 5-9 Seahawks on Sunday. Now, the game's so bad, and you know it's bad, when Gus Johnson was supposed to call it, they subbed him out. He's not calling it anymore. That was the one reason I actually cared about tuning in, seriously. Now I really have nothing to look forward to, do I? Sure, it'd be nice if the Bears win, but we'll talk about why they may not in just a second. Be nice to watch Russell Wilson, although this isn't 2015 anymore. Cool to watch Justin Fields. Maybe get better and better. Big game on the road for him. But that's all I'm really seeing. The Bears are facing a Seattle team, actually, in a somewhat similar position. Pete Carroll's on the hot seat. He might get fired by the end of the year. Their defense, still good. Their offense, anemic. And that's been their biggest problem all year. Seahawks, 24th in the NFL in scoring per game. They only put up 20.1 points per game. I mean, that's not far off from where the Bears are. Bears are at 17.1. So expect a low-scoring game. Both teams have decent defenses. Seattle's is very good, 7th in the NFL, according to points. Shouldn't be a shootout or 40 points on the board. It's going to be a close one, tight one to the end, I think. But I do think Seattle is going to pull this one out. You take a look at Seattle and their record, their schedule. The 5-9 mark is pretty deceiving. They've lost a lot of games that were close. Could have gone either way. A couple of OT losses. A couple of one-possession losses separate from those OT ones. I mean, really, we could talk about Seattle being 9-5, not 5-9. Russell Wilson's injury hurt. Geno Smith played pretty well in his place. The run game is pretty much non-existent. They've lost a lot of guys recently to COVID. I mean, just a weird season for Seattle, no question. And they started 1-0, and I thought, okay, back on the right track. Seattle's always good. And I've always been a huge Russell Wilson proponent. Although the rumors were false, and I thought they were, it still would have been nice for the Bears to get him. If that was possible, I would have done it. Russell Wilson's a great quarterback. But the team around him, old, advanced in age, less productive, and he was hurt. Now, despite what detractors want to say, Wilson's actually still playing well. 16 touchdowns, 5 picks, 99.1 passer rating. He's not the problem with his team. Pete Carroll's been there since 2009, before Russell Wilson. Might be time for a change up in Seattle. That's what everyone's saying. Pretty funny, too. I don't know if this is a coincidence, but for the second week in a row, the Bears are going to face a team in which the coach is on the hot seat. I find that pretty funny. You faced Mike Zimmer last week, and because the Vikings beat you, now they're in a playoff spot, now you face Pete Carroll, one of the longest tenured coaches in the game up to today. And he might be out. You've got a quarterback who isn't happy working with him anymore, which we knew about in the offseason. Now we know about and we see it so far this year with Seattle. This is going to be the first time in the Russell Wilson era that they finish under 500. That, to me, is shocking. My point being, don't expect some sort of big win for the Bears here. I don't care if Seattle's 5-9 and they have all these issues. The fact is, they're going to be at home, and the true fact is, the record's deceiving. They've played in a lot of close games. And who knows? A bounce of the football the other way, it could be 8-6, 9-5, and we're talking about a completely different team. Really. I mean, they've been close in a lot of games this year. And they had Wilson hurt, too. I mean, there are very few things to root about if you're watching the Bears. Like, very few. You could watch Roquan Smith put up 10 tackles a game. I don't know how he didn't make the Pro Bowl, by the way. Hoping he makes All-Pro. Maybe Robert Quinn will get closer to breaking the single-season sack record held by Richard Dent. David Montgomery might run for some good yards, and yes, maybe Justin Fields will continue to improve. I thought he did okay on Monday night. Didn't think he did bad at all. But the facts are the facts for this Bears team. Nothing's going to change until Nagy's gone, Pace is gone, and Ted Phillips is gone too. All these guys. Just had Tom Waddle on, and he offered up a pretty good perspective about the Bears, especially about Justin Fields. If the Bears knew they were going to draft a new quarterback, why'd they keep Matt Nagy? Like, doesn't make sense. It's really a good point. If the Bears knew they were getting a new guy, why keep the old head coach? Why not bring in somebody new and ingrain a system in Fields from his rookie year that could stay? I'm not saying Fields is completely incompetent, but hell, it's going to be pretty hard for him to learn a new system in year 2, especially after what's happened his rookie year. All this failure, plain and simple. And the guy's 2-8 as a starter, 7 touchdowns, 10 picks. That's tough mentally. And he turns around, new coach, new scheme, new system. Now, maybe it'll work to his benefit, but there are a lot of guys, rookies, young quarterbacks who've been through this tumultuous turn of different systems, different coaches. Some it's worked, some it hasn't. You know, Baker Mayfield is on his 4th offensive coordinator, Kevin Stefanski. Now, he did good last year. This year hurt, hampered with injuries, but as of right now, the Browns may not want to exercise their 5th-year option on him. That's a problem. And that's a huge problem. And yeah, you could say what you want about Baker Mayfield and his antics, his sense of humor, what he's done off the field, but the fact is he put up good numbers last year. And the year before, horrible. And the year before that, needed still improvement. He didn't perform like a number 1 first overall pick. Why? Well, you could say his work ethic or his skill, his talent. But I'll tell you this much, certainly didn't help. He had all these OCs coming in and out. Jay Cutler, here. I don't even want to know or think about how many different offensive coordinators we saw under Jay Cutler. That doesn't mean I'm defending Cutler for every single little thing he's done, but I will say this, not easy. Not easy. Having all these different minds come into your head draw up different plays for you, have to memorize essentially a new playbook every year. Not easy, not simple. Some continuity would be nice. Look at some of the other quarterbacks who've succeeded. Continuity helps. Look at Aaron Rodgers. Mike McCarthy for years, Matt LaFleur, but now he's used to it. Year 3, doing great. Tom Brady, Bill Belichick for how many years? Goes to Tampa, Bruce Arians, got used to it great. And Bruce Arians is a great offensive mind. Pat Mahomes, Andy Reid. I don't see Andy Reid being fired or switching up OCs or calling different plays, different schemes with Pat Mahomes. No. To have something, it works. Knows the playbook, executes. Only recent example I could think of in which it's worked out, Justin Herbert. Herbert, great his rookie year. Anthony Lynn got fired anyways. New coach comes in, still does pretty well. So if Justin Fields could be like Justin Herbert, we won't have a problem here. When you talk about Baker Mayfield, Jay Cutler, other guys who've had so many OCs come in and out, and it's hurt them, visibly we see it, could be a problem. So you got to be careful. That's why I don't get, and I'll never get, why you didn't fire the coach with the quarterback. You already got rid of Mitch Trubisky. Get rid of Nagy, too. Bring in somebody new, and have a new coach start with Fields. Don't have some coach now inherit him in Fields' second year. Just doesn't make any sense. So, as I said to open up, excited? Excited for Sunday? The Bears are going to lose this game, and it really shouldn't come as a surprise to anybody. It'll be close. I mean, with both teams averaging around 17 to 20 points per game, statistically, it should be a close one. I would hope the Bears put up more than 9 points after being in the red zone 5 times, but who am I to say anything? You know, the Bears actually outgained Minnesota, total yards, put up 9 points. Anyways, we'll have to see how Sunday plays out. I'd love to come on Monday when I make my video and say, hey, we saw some good developing from Justin Fields, and results, who cares? Bears suck anyway, and the whole season has gone wayward. But it's going to be tough. Facing a great defense, 7th overall defense in the NFL, according to points scored. That's insane. And they're old, too. And this is not Seattle from 2013. And they're still good. So it's going to be a challenge. When you have wide receivers dropping footballs, when you have inconsistent run game play, not from David Montgomery, from Matt Nagy, and when you're a rookie quarterback having your own issues, it's going to be really tough for Fields to find this formula for success on Sunday. That's just a fact. And you're on the road. Seattle's known to be the loudest stadium in football. That's why they call it the 12 fans. It won't be easy. It's a good test, though. Really good test to build character and build his career up. The game might be meaningless, but regardless, it's not like both teams won't try. It'll just be tough to watch from a fan perspective or from a media perspective. As the Bears are out, and there's no point. I hope we see better performances from receivers. I hope they could catch the damn football, which we talked about earlier this week. Hope Cole Kmet doesn't have his patented 1 or 2 drops a game. Demir Bird. I mean, there was so much on Monday. So I'm hoping for better play out of the wide receivers. Good defensive stand, too. I mean, it was a great game, really, when you think about it from the defense on Monday. 17 points to the Vikings. Dalvin Cook. They contained Dalvin Cook. A lot of your guys out with COVID. And these new guys from the practice squad stepped up and did well. I'd rather keep them in at this point. See what they're made of in a game like this. I'm all for that. That's the point of the season we've reached. What I just said is where we're at. why not keep them in? Let's see where they're at. We're at the point of evaluation here. I think we can all agree Matt Nagy probably gone. Ryan Pace, I would hope, is gone. What about some of these players, though? Will they be deemed worthy enough to stick around come next year with a new coach, new GM, new front office, potentially? Are they worth paying or keeping? That's the question. So you'll find some guys fighting for their jobs. A guy like Justin Fields, I really think, is going to play hard regardless. May not have the results, but he'll play hard. So there are some positives to watching this game. But again, the negative is that you kind of know how it's going to play out, don't you? I mean, we all do. On the road, Seattle, already eliminated from playoff contention. Justin Fields struggling under Matt Nagy. It seems like everybody's just wanting this to end. Everyone's going through the motions, making sure they cross all the T's, dot the I's, so that way after January 10th, the Bears could say goodbye and move on. I have no issue with that. I understand. It's just unfortunate we've gotten to this point. And I'm not saying I didn't see it coming. This team was atrocious from the beginning, and we knew it. Said my preseason prediction, 6-11. Well, we're getting pretty close to that now. Maybe even worse. Maybe they'll do worse than 6-11. Maybe I was actually too generous for them. It's been a tough road all year, Bears fans. I don't envy any of you. I don't envy anyone who cares about this team. As we sit here and watch the last couple of weeks of meaningless football, I would hope we see some positives, at least. I would hope we see Justin Fields develop. Maybe David Montgomery go for 1,000 yards. He's at 668 right now. Maybe Darnell Mooney could continue to catch fire. Maybe the defense could do better. And there's really not much to hang your hat on if you're a Bears fan. That's why if they do bad, it's not the worst thing in the world. Wouldn't be a loss. Might be frustrating to watch, but it wouldn't be a loss. Because if they continue down this path, they keep showing mediocrity upon mediocrity. They get blown out by Seattle, the Giants, the Vikings. Well, and at least, hopefully, management sees it's really time to make a change. Thanks for watching today's show here on VPOD TV, channel 59.3 in Roku. Really appreciate the time. Remember, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Jon Z Sports and on Facebook at Jon Zaghloul. If you want to watch more of these shows, search up Sports Talk Chicago on YouTube or go to sportstalkchicago.com. Really appreciate all of you tuning in here in the month of December, especially with all this great content coming out. Hope you'll join us again next week at 10:30 right here on VPOD TV. So long, everyone.